Following the success of the Welsh Women's Peace Appeal in 1923, Professor Charles Kingsley Webster was inspired to draw the churches in Wales and the churches in America closer together in their common effort for the aim of world peace. The aim was to create a petition by the Welsh churches that could be presented at the Federal Council of Churches in America in December of 1925. Similar to the Women's Peace Appeal, they were hoping to get America closer to joining the League of Nations. As they only had a few months to get this project underway, it was not achievable to get all the churches in Wales to sign the petition. Instead, the plan was to submit the proposal to the official representatives of the religious bodies.
I will deem it a duty and a privilege to sign the appeal to American churches.
You may add my name to the memorial to the Churches of America with pleasure.
I'm Gethin Rees. I work as Policy Officer for CATEEN, which is called Churches Together in Wales, which is the umbrella body for the mainline churches in Wales, from Quakers through to Catholics, Pentecostals, Methodists and Anglican, and so on. And we work on the whole range of public affairs, including, of course, matters of war and peace. There was no such body in Wales, though, in 1925, so it meant that each leader had to decide separately what to do. And we think, though we're not certain, that it may be the first time that the Church in Wales, which had only broken away, been disestablished from the Church of England in 1920, so just 5 years earlier, had joined with the nonconformist churches, the chapels as we call them in Wales, and the Quakers to do something public like this together. So it was quite a moment for the peace movement and for the churches. World War I proved to be a really difficult time for the churches, not just for the same reason as anyone who's facing a world war, but the majority view in the church in Wales would have been one that supported the war effort. So for those churches, ranging from the Quakers, completely pacifist, through to the church in Wales, who only a few years earlier had been part of the Church of England and very much part of the war effort, for them to come together with a call for peace was in itself really remarkable. I guess the formation of the League of Nations was one of the things that brought the churches, which had been so divided during the war about what their views should be, back together, because it was something around which Christians across the spectrum in Wales could unite. The idea that nations should talk rather than fight is one which, even if you supported the war, is one which clearly made sense. But it seems to me that this may well have been quite a healing thing for the churches. That people who had been utterly opposed to the war and people who'd been very supportive of the war effort, but who shared Christian conviction, now found that it wasn't just Christian conviction they shared, but also this desire to see the League of Nations now succeed, and for there not to be another war. Now, of course, we now know that that hope was dashed, but in 1925, that was a really strong hope, and that hope is clear in the appeal itself, in the way it's worded. It was already clear, of course, in the women's petition over the previous 2 years, and there were a succession of petitions that followed. In fact, in 1928 and in 1931 there were further appeals for peace from the churches and from others, which showed that that feeling that a new way not just could be found but had to be found was something that healed and united people who had been really in deep philosophical disagreement only a few years earlier.
Reverend Gwilym Davies was in charge of presenting this to America. On the 25th of November 1925, he set sail across the Atlantic. The boat that he sailed on was the same one that President Woodrow Wilson had sailed on to sign the World War I Treaty of Versailles. After a steady journey, he landed in America on the 3rd of December. The Federal Council of the Churches in America was formed in 1908. It consisted of 33 denominations across the United States. They aimed to meet every aspect of Christian activities, and during the 1920s and 30s, they expanded their work into the international arena. Reverend William Davies attended their annual meeting in December of 1925. The three-day event between the 9th and the 11th of December involved debates and discussions on how the churches should be involved in the current topics. The opinions were divided. Some people believed that the churches should condemn all war, whilst others believed that the churches should be involved in helping for world peace.
It would take a world war to create the League of Nations. It would take nothing less than a world war to destroy it. As far as we could judge, it was an instrument to which there would be, in our time, no practicable alternative for the establishment of the Kingdom of God in international affairs.
Whilst America never officially joined the League of Nations, this campaign was still significant in bringing the churches in Wales closer together.
I'm very pleased to say that we've already contacted the churches or the successor churches of those who signed this appeal, and they've nearly all replied saying they are really enthusiastic to commemorate this centenary, both because it follows on so naturally from the centenary commemorations that have already begun for the women's petition here in Wales, and is another facet of Wales's distinctive contribution to the peace movement in the interwar period. But also because it does seem to mark a really important moment in the churches being able to come together and to find what they agreed about in international affairs to be more important than what they disagreed about. And that is a lesson for now as well. The organisation Catene means together or in agreement. That is what it means. So many years after this appeal, the churches have chosen to come together and to say we will do the things that we agree about together. There'll still be some things we disagree about, and we'll do them separately. And I think that this 1925 appeal marks a really important moment. Although it took many years for Catene to come into existence, it marks a really important moment in churches saying sometimes we put aside our differences and we say this is actually more important. And I think this document is just a visible sign, and it's great that it's been rediscovered, of that happening before our eyes in 1925.